Good afternoon, I'm Diego Castro. Here are the latest stories at this hour. There are no low-pressure areas being monitored for tropical cyclone formation as of 8 a.m. today. Still, Pagasa says part of the country will experience rain showers because of the southwest monsoon or habagat and localized thunderstorms. The province of Zambales may experience moderate to heavy rains of up to 100 millimeters due to these prevailing weather systems. In the meantime, the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, has again placed the Visayas grid under red and yellow alert status today. The red alert will be in effect from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., while yellow alerts are expected from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. as of 8 a.m. Available capacity in the Visayas grid stands at 2,324 megawatts, while peak demand is projected at 2,550 megawatts. Under a red alert, power supply is insufficient to meet demand and the required reserve. A yellow alert means supply remains sufficient but reserve levels are below the required contingency margin. With a heavy rainy season comes a familiar and dangerous threat, dengue fever. LGUs such as Quezon City are stepping up monitoring of cases. Misting and fogging operations are now daily in Barangay Payatas to control dengue-carrying mosquitoes. The barangay tops the city's dengue list with 389 cases, though officials say most patients contracted it outside the area. Overall, Quezon City dengue cases are 46% lower this year compared to the same period in 2025. Residents are urged to monitor symptoms like fever, headaches, and rashes. The Health Department is also tracking the rising cases of leptospirosis. Over in Manila, the local government has flagged a sudden surge in the bacterial infections cases following last week's massive flooding in the city. Medical experts have repeatedly said the incubation period for leptospirosis is 2 weeks. Nationwide cases are almost 4,300, which is causing a strain in medical facilities, resources, and manpower. For one, the National Kidney and Transplant Institute has reached full bed capacity. It has since converted its gym into a makeshift ward for critical dialysis patients. Back in Manila, San Lazaro Hospital faces a similar crisis. Its emergency rooms is operating at capacity with over 135 admitted patients, 7 of whom have died since August 10. In response, the DOH has opened fast lanes across 19 Metro Manila hospitals and deployed 3.1 million doxycycline capsules. Those who waded through floodwaters with or without symptoms are advised to visit a health center or clinic within 48 hours for preventive or active treatment. In other news, the lights are a little dimmer in global entertainment as a music and Hollywood icon dies. Here's a report from the Associated Press.
Music icon Dolly Parton has died at 80 years old. One of the most beloved personalities in music and beyond, Parton was known for her soaring vocals, poignant songwriting, massive blonde wigs, and colorful, attention-grabbing outfits. She wrote hundreds of songs, including classics like Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, and I Will Always Love You, later covered by Whitney Houston, that totaled more than 100 million worldwide sales and more than 1 billion online streams. Parton's other crossover hits included the title song from 9 to 5, the 1980 comedy starring Parton, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin, and her duet with longtime friend Kenny Rogers, Island in the Stream. Beyond her music, Parton's most lasting legacy might be her generosity. She started her education nonprofit, Imagine Library, to send books to children in Tennessee, and she established the Dollywood Foundation after opening her Dollywood theme park in East Tennessee. Parton was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame and was given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Recording Academy. With 55 Grammy nominations and 10 wins, Parton is the third most nominated woman in Grammy history.
It's day 19, week 8 of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. Now let's see what has happened so far from mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Arles, go ahead.
Diego, kaninang umaga nga ay pinaalalahanan ni Senate Impeachment Court Presiding Officer Chis Escudero ang senator judges na maging impartial at politically neutral sa gitna nga ng impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte, kung saan sinabihay niya mga senator judges na tanging sa mga witness idirekta ang kanilang mga tanong at iwasang magkomento sa social media, at babala pa ni Escudero ay posibleng ang mauwi ito sa ethics complaint ang anumang maging paglabag ng mga senator judges. Sinabi ito ng senador sa kasunod ng pagtalakay sa ruling ng manifestation ng defense team laban sa isang social media post ng private prosecutor na si Attorney Amando Ligutan. No? Ayan, Diego, yung matatandaan natin, yung nag-post si Attorney Ligutan sa kanyang social media post ng a principle that all lawyers and law students must know by heart is that misleading questions are not allowed even on cross-examination. Ang niligutan, isa raw kasi siyang guro, no? At hindi niya mapipigilan o maihiwalay yon basta-basta sa kanyang sarili, dahilan nga para ipaalala ito sa lahat ng mga estudyante sa akademya man o labas nito kahit sa kanilang profesyon. No? Pero ayon kay Presiding Officer Chis Escudero, pagpasok ng Senate Impeachment Court o ng Senado, kailangan ay i-unbundle nila ito, no? O paghiwalayin. Dahilan nga para mapagsabihan o tila nagkaroon ng cap on the wrist ang Senate Impeachment Court laban sa prosekusyon maging sa depensa. Do wala namang sinabi at binanggit ng mga pangalan, pero may mga binanggit na mga linya si Presiding Officer Chis Escudero na tila yun yung mga naging basehan ng kanyang paalala na ito, no? Dahil dyan ay pinaiwas ang sino man, no, sa magkabilang panig na gumawa, magbahagi, mag-endorse at mag-amplify ng mga public statements, no, na nakapukol doon sa merits ng impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte, dahil pwede silang maireklamo patungkol dyan, no? At sinasabi na dapat or kung maaari mag-appoint nga ang magkabilang panig ng prosekusyon at depensa ng spokesperson na walang legal na responsibilidad pagdating sa mismong impeachment court. Ibig sabihin, kung ikaw ay bahagi na ng prosecution or ng defense counsel, ang maaari sana na i-assign bilang spokesperson ay yung hindi kabahagi dito. Aabangan natin kung magkakaroon ng pagbabago sa magkabilang panig ng prosecution at depensa matapos nga ang ruling at manifestation na ruling na ito ni Presiding Officer Chis Escudero mula sa manifestation ng defense.
Arles, you mentioned kanina na yung ruling ni Escudero covered also senator judges, no? Ang tanong dito, she said also the impeached. Is she referring to VP Sara, respondent VP Sara, na bawal na rin siya mag-discuss ng merits of the case or at least talk about the impeachment court in general?
Well, by design, Diego, tila compromising, no, or covered na ito yung part ng sino man sa prosecution o maging sa defense. So we are assuming na kabahagi na dyan, no, si Vice President Sara Duterte, dahil may mga pahayag din ito nitong mga nakaraang araw patungkol nga sa Senate Impeachment Court. No? At bago pa nga ilabas yung ruling ni Escudero kanina, ay naglabas na ng pahayag itong si Duterte, kung saan sinabi niya na dapat daw para mapatunayan yung mga impeachable offense sa kanya, dapat daw ay patunayan ito sa pamamagitan ng mga ebidensya, hindi sa mga pang-iinsulto, espekulasyon o maging political theatrics nga, no? Kung saan sinasabi niya yung isang witness, isang senator judge daw na tinawag na stupid ang isang testigo, at yung isang abogado na tinawag siyang mastermind of a scam, at maging yung isa pang witness na tinawag siyang brat, no? Hindi daw nito pinapalakas yung kaso laban sa kanya, kundi mas tila pinapahina lamang yung presentasyon ng mga reklamo laban sa kanya, no? At kabukod dyan, lubog na daw ang bansa sa baha at kahirapan, pero tila wala rin nananagot, at ang mga focus daw, no, ng mga mambabatas ay yung impeachment laban sa kanya, ang paghahati-hati daw sa 2027 budget, at maging yung paghahanda daw para nga malaman kung paano baliin ang konstitusyon, no, para manatili sa pwesto ang prioridad ng administrasyon at lahat ng mga kaalyado nito.
All right, thank you for that report, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos. Join us again at 2 p.m. for the very latest stories. I am Diego Castro. We now take you back to the Duterte impeachment trial, now on its 19th day.
Thank you, Counsel. We now proceed to the interjections of Senator Judges before we proceed to administrative matters facing the court today. We recognize our distinguished Senate President. Next in line, Senate President Owen Gatchalian. You may proceed, sir. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Mr. Ortonio, nakita ko sa mga records na 6 na beses ko yung pumirma ng reply to COA. Itong 6 na letters na ito ba ay nabasa, nakita, ipinakita kay Vice President Sara?
All the replies, sir, that were drafted were also sent to our Vice President for her information, for her reference and review.
So alam niya itong mga replies to COA?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And narinig ko rin sa inyong testimony na kinausap niyo si Acosta at si Colonel Lachica.
Yes, sir.
At base sa mga information nila, yun ang inilagay mo sa letter replies niyo to COA. Tama?
Yes, sir. That's correct, Your Honor.
Paki-narrate nga sa amin, ilang beses niyo pala na-meet si Colonel Lachica?
Sir, sa mga replies po, sir, I cannot exactly how many times, sir. But I can say more than once or twice, sir, I was able to meet Colonel Lachica to ensure na I get the information from him, sir, and that I'll be able to draft properly the replies to the AOMs.
So mga once or twice? Or
Around once or twice, sir. The exact number, sir, I cannot remember anymore, sir, because maraming documents po yung na-review, sir.
Pakikwento nga sa amin kung ano exactly yung kanyang sinabi sa inyo para ma-draft niyo itong reply.
For the AOMs, sir, I'll try to recall, sir, some of the issues that were raised on the AOM. So say, for example, sir, on the AOM comment regarding the use of the confidential funds for medical and food supply, sir. So tinanong ko po siya kung paano po in-implement on ground yung pagbigay ng medical and food supplies to the informants and the agents. So from there po, sir, na-mention niya, sir, na the funds were released to the informants and agents based on the representation that those funds will be used for the purchase of medical and food supplies.
Kwento mo dyan sa iyo na siya mismo ang nagbigay sa mga informants?
Sir, hindi ko na po ma-recall, sir, if he mentioned specifically if siya po yung ang nag-distribute personally, sir, doon sa on the ground, sir, or implemented the release on ground.
Pero ang kwento niya sa iyo, cash ang ibinigay sa informants, hindi medical supplies or other supplies.
That's correct po, Your Honor.
Kwento niya ba sa iyo na mayroon ba siyang kasamang iba sa pag-cash? Kasi libo-libo yung acknowledgement receipts.
Hindi niya po nakwento specifically, sir. Although if I can recall, sir, based on my recollection, meron po siyang na-mention na meron po siyang mga, hindi ko alam kung ano yung term niya, sir, but meron siyang mga people who go directly on the ground, sir.
Pero kinonfirm niya na kinonfirm niya sa iyo na kinuha niya yung 500 million pesos.
500 million, sir?
Yes, in four different tranches.
For the different funds, sir. It is of my assumption, sir, na siya po yung napagbigyan ng funds, sir.
In 4 different tranches.
4 different tranches, sir.
Okay. Nasabi niyo ba sa kanya na tinanong niyo ba sa kanya na yung mga ibang acknowledgement receipts ay questionable yung mga apelido?
Sir, at that time po, sir, I was not able to see the acknowledgement receipt, sir, because in the AOM, sir, the AOM indicated that we submit the DEPs or the documentary evidence of payment, sir. So I was not able to see it, sir. So nung binigay po sa akin ni Miss Gina Acosta yung mga DEP, sir, it was already in a sealed box, sir, and then we submitted that together with our reply to COA.
Paano niya raw dinistribute yung mga pera? No, kasi 500 million to, thousands and thousands of acknowledgement receipts. Paano niya ikunento sa inyo na dinistribute niya itong mga pera? Sino itong mga informants niya? Kasi kayo gumawa ng AOM, anong reply to
Reply,
the AOM.
sir.
So, I would assume na tinanong niyo yung methodology ng pagdidistribute niya.
Sir, based on my recollection lang, sir, he mentioned na, yun nga, sir, meron siyang mga people, sir, who worked on the ground. That is only the extent of the information I can recall, sir, when I had a consultation with Colonel Achica.
Yung pagpili ng informants, natanong niyo ba kung paano? At yung relevance ng informants dito sa inyong confidential operation?
Sir, I did not ask anymore, sir, because it was not the subject of the AOM, sir. So I was not able to check on him on that matter, sir.
Pero yung DEP, yung documentary evidence of payment, subject yan ng AOM, tama?
For submission, sir, we were required to submit documentary evidence of
But
payment, sir.
did you, tinanong niyo ba sa kanya kung paano niya nakukuha itong DEPs?
Sir, I did not ask anymore, sir. I just requested for the copies for the DEPs, sir, so that I can already submit it, sir, doon sa COA as an attachment to the AOM reply.
Paano kung yung DEPs peke? Paano kung yung kanyang narration sa iyo ay hindi totoo? Paano
Sir,
kung ganun ang situation?
Sir, at the time, sir, because he was designated as our security officer, sir, I
Designated by
by the head of office, sir,
Which is the Vice
Sara
President.
Z. Duterte, sir. So, it is of my, sa tingin ko po, sir, na maayos naman po yung pagkakatrabaho ni Colonel Achica doon sa pag-dispense niya ng duty as the security officer.
Last question, Mr. Presiding Officer. Bakit parang nagkukuha ko buo yung tiwala ninyo sa kanya at kinuha niyo lahat ng information at yun ang ginamit niyo sa inyong reply to the COA? Nakita ko bakit buo yung tiwala, hindi kayo nag-probe na mga additional questions considering na kayo ang nag-justify nito sa COA at kayo pumirma, no, dito sa COA. So bakit parang kung ano sinabi niya, yun na lang ang linagay niyo sa inyong reply?
Well, first, sir, is because he's the security officer, sir. So, I believe, sir, na siya yung the best person that can provide the information. And then, second, sir, as the security officer, sir, he was designated by our head of agency, which I believe also gave the trust and confidence to him to implement the activity. So, kung ano po yung na-mention ni Colonel Achica sa akin during the time when I checked or asked for questions, yun po yung pinagbasihan ko for the drafting of the reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Senate President. Senator Judge Ontiveros is recognized for her interjections. You have 2 minutes, ma'am. You may proceed when you're ready.
Salamat po, sir. Mr. Tonyo, tama po ba na lahat ng ginagawa ng OVP tungkol sa confidential funds, so request, amounts, justifications, use at pagsagot sa mga puna ng COA, tama po ba na lahat ng ito ay dinesisyonan at inaprubahan ni VP Duterte?
Based on the mga replies, ma'am, yes, I was able to provide a copy to the head of agency, ma'am. Again, being the head of agency, ma'am, I provided her with the information.
At base doon, dinesisyonan at inaprubahan niya ang lahat ng ito.
Yes, and from that time, ma'am, we signed off on the document for submission to the Commission on Audit.
With the last touch or final sign-off being that of VP Duterte.
Yes, ma'am, being the head of agency, ma'am, we sought her approval on it, ma'am.
At sang-ayon po ba kayo na bilang yung ganong head of agency na si VP Duterte ang responsable at pinaka-responsable sa lahat ng iyan?
Well, being the head of agency, ma'am, I believe that kailangan niyang malaman lahat ng mga nangyayari. And I know, ma'am, na si Ma'am Inday really wants to know details, no, especially on implementation of the different activities that we do in the office. So it is really meron talagang involvement in terms of ensuring that things are properly implemented within the office.
And based on that knowing, batay sa kaalamang iyon, siya ang pinaka-responsable sa kabuang iyan.
Based on that, ma'am, being the head of agency, ma'am, I would say so, ma'am.
Alright. Gano'ng katagal niyo na po kilala si VP Duterte?
Siguro, ma'am, more than 10 years, ma'am. I started working together with her, ma'am, in 2008.
At saan po so almost 20 years pala. So at saan po at paano niyo siya nakilala?
Nakilala ko po siya, ma'am, bilang Vice Mayor sa Davao City, ma'am. And then, at the time, ma'am, when they were looking for several staff members for the office of the Vice Mayor, I submitted an application, ma'am.
At magkakilala rin po ba kayo ni Ms. Gina Acosta kahit bago po kayo nakipagtrabaho sa isa't isa sa OVP?
I knew of Ms. Gina Acosta, ma'am, during my employment, ma'am, with Sangguniang Panlungsod during the time ni Ma'am Inday as the Vice President, ma'am, and Vice Mayor as the Vice Mayor.
So prior sa OVP, magkakilala at magkatrabaho na po kayo?
Kilala
Sa
ko po
Davao.
si Ms. Gina, nakikita ko po siya sa Sangguniang Panlungsod.
And then, what about po si Colonel La Chica? Magkakilala na rin po ba kayo at magkatrabaho bago kayo magkatrabaho sa OVP?
I first knew of Colonel La Chica, ma'am, when I was already with the Office of the Vice President, ma'am.
So would you say po na nasa circle of trust kayo ni VP Duterte? Kayo ni na Miss Gina Acosta, Colonel La Chica at kayo nga po?
Well, ma'am, I can only answer for myself, ma'am. In terms of working relationship, ma'am, I would say that I have the trust and confidence of the VP in terms of doing duties that are assigned to me.
Pero sasabihin nyo ba na walang trust at confidence si VP Duterte kay Acosta?
I cannot categorically say, ma'am, but I would say, ma'am, na could be, baka meron po, considering that there are also duties and functions that are being entrusted to them.
In fact, kung mas candid pa po tayo, madali naman siguro kahit from an observation, at hindi lang observation dahil malapit yung katrabaho na may trust and confidence. What about po si Colonel La Chica? Sasabihin nyo ba na walang trust and confidence si VP Duterte sa kanya?
Considering, ma'am, that he is the group commander of the Vice Presidential Security and Protection Group, ma'am, I would say, ma'am, I would say that she may have the trust and confidence.
Again, kung mas kaya nating maging candid, of course, lalo na kung security officer ng isang public official, of course, may trust and confidence. Otherwise, hindi ipagkakaloob ang kaligtasan sa kamay niya. Lastly po, napaksa for now, paano pong, and winding up Mr. Presiding Officer, paano pong sinama kayo ni Miss Gina Acosta dun sa pag-encash ng mga cheque? Halimbawa, kung kailangan po ni Ms. Acosta ang tagabuhat ng bag, ng cash, bakit po kayo in particular ang sinama niya?
I cannot answer, ma'am, kung bakit ako po ang naisama ni Ms. Gina Acosta. But at
Hindi
the
lang
time,
naisama, pero sabi niyo, hiniling niya sa inyo na
Yeah.
kayo yung sumama.
yes, ma'am.
So, bakit po?
When she requested me, ma'am, to accompany her, ma'am, sinamahan ko naman po siya, ma'am, because at the time na itanong niya na magpapasama siya, I was available naman, ma'am. And because of the request, ma'am, I accompanied her going to the bank.
So simpleng nagkataon, walang reason kung bakit kayo yung isinama niya. You were the person the warm body who happened to be available.
Again, ma'am, I cannot say kung ano yung pinaka-reason behind po ni Miss Gina, but when she requested me that I accompany her, ma'am, I said yes, ma'am. Nung
Winding up on
nag-request siya.
this topic, Mr. Presiding Officer, sinamahan niyo rin po ba si Miss Gina Acosta nung iabot yung pera?
No, ma'am. I actually did not, I was not aware, ma'am, of the arrangement, ma'am, with Colonel Chica, ma'am.
At huli po on this topic, Mr. Presiding
Kindly
Officer.
wind up.
Winding up, Mr. Presiding Officer. Nabanggit niyo po na alam ninyo yung joint circular on confidential and intelligence funds. Hindi niyo po ba naisip na violation ang pagbibigay ni Ms. Acosta kay Colonel Chica ng bulto-bultong cold cash?
Ma'am, based on, because again, ma'am, I was not aware of the arrangement, ma'am, but when I was doing the replies, ma'am, to the AOM, and of course, I also checked on the JC, ma'am, the pagpili po ng mga ng person to implement the different activities of the confidential activities and to designate a security officer is indicated also in the JMC and is within the authority of the head of agency. So yun po yung pagkakaintindi ko at the time. So with that, ma'am, I saw it that it was the manner of how the funds were handled, ma'am, was following a regular process, ma'am, based on the JMC, based on my understanding.
But then again, Mr. Ortonio, in closing, yung close reading ng JMC, na sabi nyo nga familiar kayo, would show na hiwalay pa sa usapin ng implementation, yung paghawak ng pondo ay dun lamang sa isang katulad ni Ms. Gina Acosta at hindi pwedeng ipagkatiwala bilang accountable officer siya. Hindi pwedeng ipasakamay sa iba.
Ang understanding ko po, ma'am, yes, the disbursement is with the special disbursing officer, but the implementation, ma'am, was done through the security officer.
Of course. Hindi po ko po tinatanong yung implementation. Tinatanong ko po yung violation ng JMC na alam ninyo nung tinurn over ni Ms. Gina Acosta ang bulta-bultong cash kay Colonel Chica. Something that I simply think should not and could not have escaped your eyes, Mr. Ortonio.
Yes, ma'am. Again, ma'am, based on 22, ma'am, I could not recall that that was a concern, ma'am, in the AOMs, ma'am. Although for the 2023, ma'am, na notice for disallowance, ma'am, it is subject for reply also on our end, ma'am, and we are currently drafting also a reply for that one.
And of course, given the strict internal controls na siguro kayo yung pinaka may oversight sa opisina, even prior further communications from COA, after yung unang pagpansin nila sa last quarter 2022, edi dapat nag-exert kayo ng higit na pagbantay the next 3 quarters of 2023.
Ma'am,
Kindly wind up, Senator Judge Riza.
Yes, winding up now, Mr. President.
Your Honor, we were able to receive the audit observation memo for 2022 in October 4 of 2023. We got the observations po, ma'am. And we already got the AOM, ma'am, and yung 3 quarters for 2023 was already implemented.
Again po, Mr. Ortonio, even prior any further communications from COA, dahil familiar kayo sa JMC, sabi nyo nga, po yun. Dagang salamat, Mr. Ortonio.
Thank you, Senator
Maraming
Judge
salamat po,
Risa.
Mr. Presiding Officer.
Senator Judge Lacson, you may proceed with the interjections when you're ready, sir. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Good afternoon, Mr. Ortonio.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Your educational background and your work experience, it is not difficult to conclude na matalino kayong tao, you're an intelligent person, and an intelligent witness as well. So, kayo po yung staff ng OBP.
Yes, Your Honor.
Kayo rin yung concurrently Administrative and Financial Officer.
As the Assistant Chief of Staff, sir, I oversee the Administrative and Financial Officer.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So effectively, kayo yung Admin and Financial Officer.
The Admin and Financer.
You know, kanina kasi, upon questioning ni Attorney Christine, she kept referring to the regular program under the Office of the Vice President. No? Natatandaan niyo yun? So it aroused my curiosity. No? Pina-pull out ko sa staff yung General Appropriations Act ng 2022 as well as 2023. Papabasa ko sa inyo para hindi ma-charge sa oras ko. No? For 2022, under the regular to, Good Governance Program, merong 621.6 million pesos. Kayo na lang.
Sorry, sir, hindi ko makita, sir. Okay, for fiscal year 2022, sir, under Good Governance Program, General Appropriations Act, 621.6 million, sir.
Please continue.
And then physical and financial plan and intelligence funds, 125 million for the fourth quarter. And then for fiscal year 2020,
Under the same program, Good Governance Program,
Good Governance
under
Program.
the PFP.
Under the PFP,
Okay, please
sir.
continue.
And then for fiscal year 2023, socio-economic program, 2.21 billion billion under General Appropriations Act, and then 500 million for 125 million first quarter, 125 million second quarter, 125 million third quarter, 25 million fourth quarter.
Okay. For a total of 500 million more.
500 million.
Okay. Next slide. I-juxtapose ko naman yung next slide, wag na yan. I-juxtapose ko yung 2022 at saka 2023 financial plans, confidential intelligence, dalawang budget years. Pakibasa yung last quarter, physical target.
Baka pwede pong ma-request na
Okay,
ma-zoom.
Di bang hindi charge sa time ko, ako magbabasa? Okay. Letter A, number of identified areas with surveillance conducted and monitored. Letter B, percentage of activities implemented without untoward security-related incidents. Paulit-ulit po ito, no? So, sabi ko kanina, kayo naman ay mukhang matalinong tao at matalinong witness. Ano pong analysis nyo dyan?
On the
Very simply, paano nyong i-analyze yung ganitong klaseng mga descriptions?
These are the activities that will be done, sir.
I know. Pero
Yes,
kung
sir.
i-analyze nyo, hindi ba ito insulto sa common sense? Hindi man lang nyo binago ng konti, at least si Colonel Chica siguro ito. No? Unang-una, regular program, sana man lang, pagdating sa PFP, binago nyo yung nomenclature. Tapos, under the physical target, yung column, sana man lang, binago nyo yung activities. Copy-paste eh. Again, ulitin ko, tingin ko sa inyo, matalinong tao, matalinong witness, anong tingin nyo rito? Kung i-describe nyo in one word.
Sir, I cannot...
Ako na mag-describe. I think it's stupid. Sana konti. Maraming salamat, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Next would be Senator Judge Padilla.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Tagapamahalang Hukom. Tanong sa ating saksi. Opo. Ginoo, Sa palagay niyo po ba, karapat-dapat lamang na gumamit ng alias kapag confidential fund ang pinag-uusapan?
Sir, as someone who does not know, sir, implementations of parang mga confidential activities, sir, I cannot, hindi po ako makakasagot ng maayos, sir, kung pwede po ba or hindi. But based on information that I got, sir, when I consolidated the answers for the AOM, sir, hindi naman po siya na-mention sa akin. But I know, sir, that activities, confidential activities are considered to be sensitive. And there might be individuals or groups that need to be somehow protected, sir, because of the information that you would be getting from those people, sir. Yun po yung tingin ko, sir. Hindi ko categorically masasabi na pwede po yung alias or hindi. But going back to the JMC also, sir, sa Joint Memorandum Circular, there is no specific provision, sir, that kung paano po yung paglagay ng mga pangalan sa documentary evidence of payments.
Okay. Maraming salamat po. Meron po akong tanong sa prosecution. Magandang hapon po. Napakaganda po ng inyong ngiti.
Good afternoon din po, sir.
Batid po ba ninyo ngayon, mga petsa na to, kung ano ang pinagdiriwang natin sa Pilipinas? Magmula po 19 hanggang 30.
Buwan ng
Bukod po sa buwan ng wika,
National Heroes Day.
National Heroes Day. Ito po ay hango sa ating mga bayani. Tama po ba?
Opo.
Opo. Naniniwala po ba kayo na ang ating mga bayani ay may mga alias? Kilala niyo po ba sila Di Masalang?
I'm sorry po sa aking history teacher.
Ayan, opo.
Hindi ko na po maalala.
Ito po ang pinakamagandang panahon para maipaalala po sa inyo na ang ating mga bayani ay gumamit ng mga alias. Di Masalang, Siling Labuyo, Tikbalang, Tagailog, May Pag-asa, Juan, Magdalo, Leon Kilat, Vibora, Lakambini, Paralitiko, Dimas, Alipato, Liwanag, Balite, at marami pa pong iba. Ano po ang kahalagahan dito, palagay po ninyo? Yes po, anong kahalagahan?
Well, first, sir, Your Honor, I cannot comment because I'm not sure of the circumstances surrounding their use of alias. Under the anti-alias law, sir, inaalaw naman po yung paggamit ng alias provided kailangan po nakabanggit din, nakadisclose kung ano yung real name. So it's not completely prohibited provided they also provide the real
Opo.
the real name.
Pakisagot lang muna po yung tanong ko bago po yung explanation po ninyo. Pakisagot lang po. Narinig nyo na po yung mga alias na yan. Ngayon lang po nyo narinig.
Some of it po, Your Honor, to be candid, some of it I've already heard.
Magmula po 1892 hanggang 1896, ginagamit po nila ang mga alias na yan. Nagkaroon lang po ng isang pangalan ay Teodoro Patiño na nagbulgar sa Katipunan. Alam po ba niyo yun?
Yes, Your Honor. But the circumstances then were different because we were
Bakit po iba?
under...
Bakit po iba? Bakit po na iba?
May gera po nun, sir, and we were under
Wala po ba tayong
occupation.
gera sa NPA? Ang NPA po, merong mga ka-agila, ka-lawin, ka-tigre, ka-kapre, ka-sirena, ka-adobo, ka-sinigang, ka-pansit, ka-tinola, ka-sile, ka-kamote, ka-bawang, ka-maksi, ka-labuyo.
Strictly speaking,
Lahat po yan,
sir,
ginagamit
iba po
na
yung
alias.
internal armed conflict, iba naman din war.
Bakit po na iba? Pareho po itong clear and present danger sa atin. So ang gusto ko lamang pong ipaalam sa ating prosecution na napakahalaga po ng alias sa panahon ng Kayo po. Sagot.
Guerra, sir, Your Honor.
Ang confidential po. Ang pagkilos confidential ay napakahalaga at hindi po ginagamit ang pangalan at hindi po pumipirma. At alam niyo po ba, noong September 12, 1893, merong nagkaroon tayo ng 13 martires. Yung mga nagtraidor ay itinuro ang mga totoong pangalan, totoong lugar, kung nasaan yung mga sumusuporta sa katipunan. One last na lang po.
If I may, Your Honor, just address your question earlier. With all due respect, Your Honor, the prosecution respectfully submits that whether the use of alias is allowed or not and whether it's necessary or not, to us, that is a non-issue because that was never raised
Hindi po
by...
issue sapagkat ito po ang ipinalalabas ng prosecution.
If I may, Your
Na
Honor,
may mga pangalan, na mga katawa-tawang pangalan. Mas nakakatawa po itong mga pangalan ng mga nangyari nung araw.
with all due
At isa
respect,
pa
Your
po,
Honor,
isa na lang
if
po. Kasi isa na lang po.
Kindly wind up,
Ito
Senator
na lang po.
Padilla.
Kilala niyo po ba kung sino si Marcial Bonifacio?
to be candid, Your Honor, I'm not
Sino po?
familiar.
Si Benigno
I'm sorry,
Aquino
Your Honor.
Jr. Si Ninoy. Siya mismo may alias. Maraming salamat po.
Your Honor, if I just may, Your Honor, just to set the record straight, because it was made to, with all due respect to the Senator Judge, it was...
Presiding Judge, allowed ba yun?
I was about to make a ruling. Senator
Maraming
Judge
salamat
Padilla.
po.
There was no question posed or poised. Attorney May. Let's proceed to the next Senator. By the way, did you intentionally get rid of the platform?
Yes, Your Honor, because you were not expecting that I'd be called again, Your Honor, to make way for the Honorable Chair of the
Okay.
panel of
Understood.
prosecutors, Your Honor.
Understood. Senator Judge Aquino,
Thank
you're
you.
recognized for interjection. You may proceed, sir, when you're ready. You have 2 minutes.
Yung 2 minutes, Mr. Presiding Officer. Tama po, si Ninoy Aquino po ang kanyang alias ay Marcial Bonifacio para makauwi po siya sa Pilipinas nung nasa Boston siya. Oho. Pero wala naman ho siyang confidential funds na... Wala ho siya sa mga AR na confidential funds. Lilinawin ko lang ho. Okay. Pagdating ho sa prosecution, ang posisyon ng prosecution, yung mga pangalan ay totoong tao, di ba? Correct, no? You have not really mentioned aliases in any of your... Wala. We have talked about aliases. Is the prosecution talking about aliases?
That was never our point, Your Honor. In fact, the point of the prosecution is that that was never raised by the defense, either in their answer or in their pretrial brief, Your Honor. So to us, that should be a non-issue because they never claimed that in any of their pleadings before
Okay,
this
thank you.
honorable court.
Okay, klaklaruin ko lang ha. Ang siyang tao lang pong nagsabi na alias po sila, si Miss Gina Acosta, in her testimony. Kanina po, sabi niyo rin na Mr. Ortonio na hindi siya alias or hindi niyo alam. But si Miss Gina Acosta, in her testimony, did admit that in her perspective, these are... No, just for the record po. Okay. So ito po yung mga tanong ko po. Sana po ito lang 2 minutes ko, Mr. Presiding Officer. So unang-una, Mr. Ortonio, you're very competent. Thank you for your answers. And I want you to answer just very candidly, no? Ano po yung naging personal reaction ninyo nung napag-usapan possible misuse of the confidential funds at nung na-bring up na yung mga tawagin din nating katawa-tawang pangalan na parang klaro naman ay hindi naman talaga totoong tao? Ano po yung personal reaction po ninyo?
Initial reaction, sir, would be, of course, merong questions, sir, no? There would be questions. But again, sir, I go back to the presumption, sir, that there is regularity in terms of the implementation, sir.
Okay. So, may I ask, since you're in the top leadership of the OVP, nung nabibring up na to, personal reaction, kung alam nyo lang, ng Vice President, ng Chief of Staff, other leaders in your group, nung napag-usapan na posibleng nabigay yung pera sa mga kakaibang pangalan o baka hindi totoong tao. What was your reaction? What was their reaction? Would you know? Nag-meeting ba kayo? Did you call for an emergency meeting? Did you have a in your office to talk about this?
Sir, because yung AOM, sir, because it was sent to my office, sir, pina-personally received sa akin, sir, on behalf of the Vice President. Of course, I provided a copy to the Chief of Staff, sir, and the Vice President. Ang naging instruction sa akin, sir, was to respond to the AOMs and make consultations with the Special Disbursing Officer and Security Officer para masagot yung mga concerns or issues raised by COA.
Mga actions nyo, Mr. Ortonio, I'm asking about your reaction. Kinabahan ba kayo? Were you worried? Were you concerned? Was there any concern shown by the Vice President, by the Chief of Staff, by people in your office na posible itong perang ito ay hindi nagamit sa tama?
On the matter of concern, sir, I think there is a concern considering that there is already a immediate instruction, sir, to reply to the AOM.
That's the
sir.
AOM. Let's go to the bringing up of these names in Congress. Yung lumabas na yung piyatos, pusa, pagong, mga ganyan. Were you concerned na yung pera ng bayan posibleng hindi nagamit sa tama at ito'y pinirmahan mo at ito'y nakapangalan sa inyong opisina, for example? Were you concerned?
Sir,
Honestly.
Reaction, sir, yes, sir, but nung as the hearings went on, sir, parang binabalikan ko yung AOM, sir. Hindi kasi po siya na-raise doon sa AOMs. So, parang nabawasan po yung concern ko, personal concerns ko, acknowledgement receipts.
Did you call for an internal investigation after na-reveal yung mga pangalan na kakaiba? Nagpatawag ba kayo ng investigasyon sa inyong opisina?
I personally did not, sir, hindi na po ako nagpatawag. Sir.
Did your office call for an internal investigation?
On that matter, sir, I do not know, sir, if there is an instruction coming from the head of agencies. To me, sir, none, sir.
Okay. So, ito kasi, Mr. Ortonio, no, sa aking opisina, more than 10 years ago, meron kaming nahanap na isang staff na ibang resibo yung ginamit sa liquidation. Wala pa atang 5,000 pesos to sa totoo lang. Hindi nga niya binulse. No? Meron siyang dapat hotel receipt na wala hotel receipt ng ibang tao. That already elicited an internal investigation on our part. In the end, pinaalis namin yung staff na yon na kilala namin, kaibigan namin. 5,000 lang yun. So the common response we are looking for is that kapag pera to ng bayan at hanapin nyo talaga kung saan nagamit tong pera to. Kaya I'm really wondering what were the actions and reactions of people. So ito yung tanong ko rin, no? Mahalaga ba sa inyo, mahalaga ba sa iyo, sir, na yung perang ito ay nagamit sa tama, na hindi ito nagamit sa mali o na bulsa lang?
Yes, sir. It is important to me. In the years na nakasama ko rin po si Vice President Sara Z. Duterte, sir, she also would want na money is spent properly for what it is intended to be used for.
Okay, last question, Mr. Presiding Officer. During all of this time, pinatawag mo ba si Colonel La Chica o pinatawag ba siya ni S or ni Vice President? Would you know? Kinausap mo ba? Tinanong mo ba? Colonel, itong mga pangalang ito, sino ba talaga to? Totoo ba to? Bakit nakalagay medicine pero cash talaga yung binigay? Kasi sa totoo lang, sir, yung nakalagay doon gamot pero cash ang binigay na pambili ng gamot, cash pa rin yun. Diba? So in short, yung 500 million, parang puro cash yun. Wala man tables and chairs because that presupposes na ang binili nyo yung tables and chairs or supplies. You actually gave cash na 500 million. Pinatawag nyo po ba si Colonel La Chica at tinanong, as public officers, we have to exercise the diligence of a good father of a family. No? That's in our oath. So pinatawag nyo po ba ng inyong opisina at pina-explain to?
Sir, I was only able to request na makausap si Colonel Lachica in relation only to the response to the AOM, sir.
So hindi niyo po natanong itong mga specific questions na ito dun sa mga specificong mga pangalan, mga AR, mga ganyan?
At that time, sir, because I had no knowledge, sir, of the AR, sir.
Salamat, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Senator Judge Aquino. Senator Judge Erwin Tulfo is recognized.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Ginoong Testigo, alam niyo ho ba na si Colonel Lachica ay hindi po banded? And therefore, wala pong karapatan na mag-disburse ng CIF. Alam niyo po ba ito? Hindi.
I know that si Colonel Lachica po is not bonded, and as far as I know po, ang special disbursing officer po is si Ms. G.
Sa pagkaalam po ninyo, pwede po siyang humawak ng ganyang kalaking pera at ayaw mo ninyong sabihin na disburse, kundi implementation na may kahit na hindi po siya banded, pwede siya mag-disburse or mag-implement ng ganong kalaking pera.
Sir, I believe, sir, with his designation as the security officer, sir, to implement the different activities on ground.
So, hindi nyo na po question si Ginang Acosta or si Colonel Lachica dahil may instruction po sa taas. Tama po ba yun? Is that to my understanding, sir?
Hindi ko na po natanong, sir, because there is already a delegation or designation for the both of them for the activity that
Saan
they
po
will be
galing
doing.
yung designation, sir? Can
The
you recall my memory?
The designation po, sir, came from the head of agency, sir, the Vice President.
All right. Sir, sabi mo kanina, I don't know kung kalimutan ko, nasa break room po ako kanina. Sabi mo, wala kang alam. Nag-usap po tayo. Tama po ba yun?
Yes, sir.
You have no idea. Pero I just was wondering, bakit kayo po ang sumasagot ng Audit Observation Memorandum o AOM ng COA kung wala kayong alam sa paggasta ng confidential fund? Gayon, ang AOM po, tama po ba, correct me if I'm wrong, ay ito po ay kumikwestiyon sa mga errors, exception, or deficiencies.
For my office po, sir, whenever we receive AOMs, for our officers sa OVP, when we receive AOM, sir, it's the chief of staff or the chief of staff or the chief of staff and the assistant chief of staff responds to AOMs on behalf of the institution.
Pero sabi niyo po, kayo po sumasagot ng AOM.
Yes, sir. That's part of the tasks that are given to us, sir, together with the chief of
But
staff.
how can you, I was just wondering kanina po, sir, how can you answer questions, queries, kung wala na pa po kayong alam? Paano niyo po masasagot? The only way to do that is you will lie.
That's why po, sir, meron pong instruction that was given to me, sir, by the head of agency, sir,
Na?
to talk with the special disbursing officer and the security officer para makuha po yung mga information from them and malatag po doon sa reply to the AOMs.
So your reply was only based on what they said, what they told you.
That's correct, sir.
Ayon, without resibo, etc., none of that. Just plainly na, Ginoong Antonio, dito po namin ginastos yung pera, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, sir. I consulted with them, sir, for the
Okay.
reply, sir.
Hindi ka ba, kahit na katiting man lang na duda, sir, na medyo mali yata ang paggasta ng confidential fund ng OVP ni Colonel Lachica, hindi mo lang sumagi sa'yo na ka na, something is wrong here, wala man lang, none at all.
At that time, sir, may yung mga issues naman, sir, and when I consulted with the security officer, he was able to provide a reply naman, sir. So, although yes, initially, parang you would question, sir, no? But with the replies that I got from the security officer, sir, able to respond to them already to COA.
The reason why I asked you that, Ginoong Witness, was that nandyan po kayo, syempre po yung tiwala ng VP po sa inyo. Di mo lang ninyo naisip na, teka mali ito, baka sumabit si VP Sara, sumabit ang OVP. Baka hindi naman talaga nagastos ni Carla Chica, baka ay hindi talaga napupunta sa kungkan. Hindi ho lang ninyo naisip. Or didn't you tell the Vice President, ma'am, ano ho kaya? Tanungin ninyo ito or pwede ba silipin? None at all, hindi mo lang nakausap si VP. Hinayaan nyo lang hinayaan na tumuloy-tuloy for several months, several quarters yung ganitong klaseng expenditure. Nobody informed the Vice President.
Sir, hindi naman po na hinayaan, sir, because all the replies naman po, sir, are also given to the Vice President for her review and final approval before it is being signed and to be sent to the Commission and
Report, sir, alam na po ni VP. Is that what you're saying? Nakita niya na po na pinambili ng ganito, ng information, ng gamot, ng mga lamesa, na alam na ng VP before you signed it.
Before I signed it, sir.
So dumaan na sa table ni VP.
Yes, sir.
Kindly wind up,
Thank
Senator
you
Judge
po,
Erwin.
Ginong Testigo. Mr. Presiding Officer, thank you.
Thank you, Senator Judge Erwin. To avail of the first round, Senator Judge Marcos, you are recognized, ma'am. You may proceed when you're ready.
Yes, maraming salamat, Mr. Ortonio. Medyo nalilito lang po kami dahil paiba-iba yung explanation. Nag-umpisa sa PFP. Bakit iba yung 2022 PFP kung saan maliwanag na nakasaad good government lamang? Request ninyo sa
Welcome to One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. Here are the headlines at this hour. The House Appropriations Committee continues its deliberations on the proposed 2027 national budget with several agencies facing lawmakers today. Among them, the Public Works and Environment Departments. Let's bring in mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, let's start off sa highlights ng DPWH budget hearing.
Yes, Diego, dito nga sa nangyaring budget deliberations ng House Committee on Appropriations ay sumalang na nga Department of Public Works and Highways. At kanina, during the presentation of Secretary Vince Dizon, nabanggit niya na bumaba nga daw yung number of projects na gagawin mismo ng ahensya for 2027. Kasi yung 2023 to 2025, ang nakita doon ay nasa around 22,000 to 25,000 yung bilang ng flood control projects. Pero sa 2027, nasa around 11,000 na lang yung proyektong gagawin. At isa nga daw kasi sa mga rason dyan ay inalis nga daw mismo ng DPWH yung duplicate projects para maiwasan din yung overlapping. Isang halimbawa na dyan ay yung coordination nila with Quezon City kung saan patuloy yung nagiging pag-uusap nila para in case na may drainage system na kailangan nga din daw ayusin, ay hindi na dumoble yung kailangan gawin at hindi na nga raw mapasama. So technically before, ang nangyayari daw kasing instance ay merong project ng DPWH at meron ding proyekto yung local government unit. Pero ngayon, iisahin na lang yun para hindi nga mag-overlap yung mga proyektong gagawin. Bukod pa dyan, meron din daw kasing mandato ang Department of Budget and Management pagdating dito sa mga maliliit na proyekto na wag na nga daw munang bigyang pansin dahil kung may mga proyekto na less than 5 million pesos ang halaga, wag na daw muna masyadong pagtuunan ng pansin. So ang tinitingnan ngayon ng DPWH ay yung mga proyekto na malalaki at kinakailangan nga daw tapusin. So technically yung mga unfinished projects na meron nga daw sa iba't ibang lalawigan dito sa ating bansa. At kanina, nung nakapanayam din natin si Secretary Vince Dizon, nabanggit niya na meron nga daw constant coordination din mismo ang DPWH with Project NOAA pagdating sa mga flood control projects kung saan sinasabi dito ni Secretary Dizon na kailangan nga daw nilang tingnan yung mga flood-prone areas. Isa na yung Bulacan sa mga nababanggit niya, na talagang kailangan nilang tutukan yung mga flood control projects at titingnan pa rin nila no yung mangyayari pa sa area pa sa mga susunod ngang buwan. So ang next naman din, Diego, no, ay yung sa commitment fees kung saan sinabi dito ni Secretary Dizon na nag-occur nga daw at nag-incur nga daw no ang government ng around 3.4 billion pesos na commitment fees pagdating sa foreign assistant projects naman kung saan nga sinasabi din dito no na if not all daw kasi ay most foreign assisted projects ay nakaranas ng delay, and that is also the reason why kinakailangan na ring magbayad no ng pamahalaan ng commitment fees sa dahil nga sa delays ng foreign assisted projects. Diego?
Alright, yung DENR nag-appear din sa committee, no? Ano yung mga issues ba na raise habang dinidinig yung budget nila?
Pagdating naman dito, no, Diego, sa Department of Environment and Natural Resources, isa sa mga talagang tinitingnan no ay yung sa welfare din ng farmers kung saan nga gusto nila talagang makuha no yung rights nila sa lupa. Pero dito kasi sa naging discussion din ng DNR budget hearing ay meron daw kasing mga land disputes na hindi pa talaga ma-resolve mismo ng ahensya dahil kulang din daw sila sa resources. So titingnan din mismo ng ahensya kasama ng House Committee on Appropriations kung paano nga ba mapaglalaanan ng sapat na budget para nga ma-resolve itong land disputes na kinakailangan din, especially sa agriculture sector ng ating bansa.
Alright, pinapakinggan din ba yung budget ng Department of Migrant Workers or DMW?
Well, later on pa yan, no, Diego, mapapakinggan natin yung magiging talakayan naman ng budget pagdating sa Department of Migrant Workers. Isa sa mga ina-anticipate din natin dito no, na mapapag-usapan ay yung naging welfare din ng overseas Filipino workers, lalo na sa Middle East, lalo na kasagsagan din ng Middle East crisis. So titingnan natin kung ano nga din ba yung budget na mailalaan mismo ng ahensya kasama ng Kamara pagdating dito sa pagsasaayos din ng mga benepisyo, pati na rin yung mga nawala sa OFWs dahil nga sa Middle East crisis.
Alright, thank you for those updates, mobile journalist Amy Atienza. We also give you a quick look at stories from our media partners. On the Philippine Star, Comelec says the proposed 5-year term for barangay and sangguniang kabataan officials could begin with those elected in the November 2, 2026 elections. The proposal would keep the elections on schedule instead of moving them to November of 2028. Certificates of candidacy for the barangay elections will be filed from September 28 to October 5. Comelec says about 8 billion pesos has already been spent on preparations. On Business World, total vehicle sales in the country fell by 2.5% year-on-year in July with less than 38,000 units sold. Year-to-date sales dropped 10.2% as consumers tightened spending due to high borrowing costs and inflation. Electric vehicle sales bucked the downward trend, increasing almost 162% in July, capturing nearly 30% of the total auto market. For more details of these stories, you can visit the social media pages of the Philippine Star and Business World. Do check out as well the social media platforms of One News PH for the very latest headlines. Moving on, a surgeon in Shanghai, China performed surgery remotely on a patient in Quezon City in what marked the Philippines' first telesurgery. Mobile journalist Denise Valdez-Sancho has the story.
What if your surgeon could operate on you without even being in the same country? In Quezon City, a robotic arm has helped make history as the Philippines witnessed its first ever telesurgery.
This will be the first time that there will be a telesurgery in the Philippines with the surgeon doing the robotic surgery from China and the patient being here in the Philippines.
Simply put, telesurgery means a doctor can perform an operation from a different location using a robotic system controlled remotely through the internet. In this case, the surgeon was in Shanghai, China, while the 53-year-old patient was here at the Urology Center of the Philippines.
We're going to perform the robotic-assisted radical prostatectomy for a patient who has an intermediate risk of prostate cancer.
The robot offers a closer look with a highly magnified three-dimensional view and more precise instruments. For patients, that could mean less blood loss, less carrying, and faster recovery. But what happens if the internet connection fails? That was also covered.
Actually, it will not affect the outcome of the surgery because you have an expert surgeon right here in the Philippines who's going to take over the surgery.
But perhaps the biggest promise of telesurgery isn't just what it can do today.
With the lack of surgeons across the country, the the future here is that you can have these robots in different municipalities in different islands, but you cannot provide all the doctors. So the expert surgeon can be here in Manila doing the operation through the console, through the internet, with the patient either in Masbate, no, in Sulu.
From Shanghai to Quezon City, the country's first telesurgery lasted more than 5 hours, with the patient's cancerous prostate successfully removed, marking a major step forward for robotic surgery in the Philippines. Mobile journalist Denise Valdesancho. We are One News.
We are still covering the Vice President's trial now on its 19th day and 8th week. Let's get updates now from the impeachment court from mobile journalist Fatima Baduria. Fatima, what can you tell us so far?
Diego, for day 19 of the impeachment trial, as of now, natapos na yung examination of both parties for Lemuel Artonio, the Assistant Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President. At kanina nabalikan yung ilan sa mga nabanggit niya during his testimony since yesterday, no? Na how the OVP requested 250 million in confidential funds even without a physical financial plan. Ibig sabihin daw ay wala pa yung mga plano bago ito nga pag-request ng confidential funds from the DBM. Although kanina nabanggit naman no na hindi raw kasi ito required no yung pag-submit ng PFP kasabay nung pag-request ng funds. Nagkaroon lang din kanina ng konting friction between the prosecution and the defense pagkatapos ng multiple objections from both parties. Pero anyway, kapag nagkakaroon naman ng ganitong instances is that presiding officer takes over the questioning of the witness. At earlier, the prosecution also held a press conference no over the lunch break. This time, si House Impeachment Trial Advisor and spokesperson Robert Ace Barbers and Joy Congon ang humarap sa media. This is after yung sub judice ruling ni presiding officer. Itong dalawa kasi na ito ay hindi naman sakop ng sub judice rule as they are not part of the panel of prosecutors. No? So they were the ones who commented on the presiding officer's ruling earlier this morning, saying that they respect it and will comply, but at the same time, they're also seeking clarification on whether the recent statements of Vice President Sara Duterte falls under this rule. No? Kasi kanina merong statement si Sara saying that they should prove the impeachable offense at meron ding mga nabanggit na wala na mga evidence na pinapakita ang prosecution. So they're seeking clarification on that matter, Diego.
Fatima, yun ata yung Rule 18, no?
Yes, Diego.
All right, let's move on naman. No? Let's talk about yung mga senator judges' interjections, which was very colorful, especially these last 20 minutes, with Senator Robin Padilla propounding his questions and mentioned that even Ninoy Aquino used an alias, to which Senator Bam replied. So can you tell us more about this?
Yes, Diego, kanina lang no nagkaroon na ng mga katanungan yung ibang senator judges including si Senator Robin Padilla kanina kasi hindi na lang si Ortonio yung natanong no pati na rin si prosecution counsel May Divina Gracia. Natanong siya whether she knows kung meron nga bang mga aliases ang mga heroes from history, no? Ang sagot naman ni Divina Gracia ay alam naman daw niya na talagang ginagamit ito, though hindi niya sure kung ano yung circumstances kung bakit gumamit ng aliases before yung ibang heroes. Pero in this context naman ng impeachment trial ay talagang agree naman siya na pwedeng gumamit ng aliases when it comes to confidential funds. But kailangan meron daw mga real names na nakalista, no? And kanina naman natanong din si Ortonio ng ilang senator judges, no, more on information on what Ortonio knows and kung paano siya nakikipag-coordinate with La Chica, no, yung group commander of the Vice Presidential Security and Protection Group. Kasi sabi ni Ortonio na he did ask some questions kay La Chica pagdating sa mga pag-process ng mga dokumento at ang kanina natanong ni Senator Judge Raffy Tulfo kung natanong din ba niya kung bakit merong similar signatures on different acknowledgement receipts, bakit daw may pusa, merong pagong na names na nakalagay doon sa mga ARs na ito. Ang sagot ni Ortonio ay hindi niya nakita yung ARs at sabi naman ni Senator Judge Raffy Tulfo, tulad ng komento niya kaya Gina Acosta, the SDO of the OVP, ay parang nagmamaang-maangan daw at blind loyalty daw ang nakikita niya. At kanina, maging si Senator Judge Ping Lacson ay nakapagtanong kung bakit mukhang may copy-paste daw on different physical financial plans at bakit daw ganito na pare-pareho ang nakalagay. Hindi ito nasagot ni Ortonio at ang sabi naman ni Lacson, and I quote, I think it's stupid daw according kay Sen. Judge Lacson. Pero ayan, yan yung mga narinig natin ng mga tanong ng senator judges kanina, Diego.
All right, thank you for that report, mobile journalist Fatima Baduria. We'll be back at the top of the hour for the day's headlines. I'm Diego Castro. We take you back again to the Duterte impeachment trial.
I'm not in the implementation, kaya hindi ko masagot. Is that compliance with, the requirements of COA?
Sir, the duty po, sir, to ensure that the DEPs...
There was nothing to stop you from opening the envelope, right? There was nothing.
Sir, the JC, sir, indicates, sir, that there are only certain individuals who have access
You could
to
get clearance, could you?
Sir, that's what...
Of course you can.
I did not ask anymore, sir, because I parang respectfully in-acknowledge ko na kung ano yung nakalagay sa JC, sir.
In other words, you really did not go point for point as you earlier testified to. Kasi pag sinabi mo we went point for point, parang masinop yung naging trabaho ninyo, di ba? Thorough, point for point. Pero ang lumalabas dito ngayon, hindi nyo binuksan yung documentary evidence of payment, hindi nyo binusisi, di ba? Sinabmit lang ninyo. Again, we're talking of hundreds of millions of pesos. And I'd like to think, being an intelligent Ateneo graduate, diba, that you would have exercised greater diligence as you tried to monitor, check on, supervise financial services head how government money was being spent. Yun ang tinatanong ng mga kababayan natin, mahirap paniwalaan, I'll wrap it up here, na kayo ay gumastos ng 122 million na reward dahil nag-surveillance yung mga informant at nabigyan ng reward at hiningi nila gamot at hindi niyo binigyan ng gamot, binigyan niyo ng pera para sila nang bibili ng gamot. Sabi niyo usual yun.
Kindly wrap up, Senator Judge Pangilinan.
No further questions, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Judge Pangilinan. Finally, Senate President Gatchalian.
Thank you.
And then Senator Judge Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
wrap it up.
Merong binabasa ko itong reply ninyo, Mr. Ortonio, to COA, dated November 30, 2023. At nakasulat dito, I'll flash it on the screen. Paki-flash na lang. Hence, the 125 million CF was fully utilized for expenses planned, implemented, and paid during the 3-month period covering October to December 2022. So, sino nagbayad ng 125 million in advance?
Sir, there was no payment in advance that was made, sir. All payments were made between the period of December 21 to December 31, sir.
But very clear kasi dito na binayaran na siya paid. 3 months in advance. In fact, mayroon pa siyang months. And ito yung kadugtong ng sinabi ng ating presiding officer, obligation incurred. So, ang basa ko dito, nabayaran na siya. Kaya reimburse na lang ng 125 CF.
Sir, if I may be allowed, sir, to clarify, Your Honor, yung parang explanation from yesterday, sir. For the period of October to December 2022, sir, based on the information that was shared by the security officer, once we have already submitted yung PFP sometime in September, the security team, sir, meaning si Colonel Chica, sir, already made coordination with informants or agents on the ground. As to the extent of the coordination that they did, sir, I am not privy to that anymore. However, when we received the SARO in December 13, 2022, which already indicates that we already have the funding for the confidential funds, that's the time that they were able to make definitive agreements with the informants on the ground. And once the payment, once the check has been encashed already, that's the time that payment between the period of December 21 to 31.
Mas realistic pa kasi kung in advance tapos reimburse kaysa 125 million gagastusin in 11 days. So mas realistic pa nga itong explanation ninyo kaysa doon sa 11 days na gagastusin. And we're talking about 845 acknowledgement receipts scattered all over the country. Kaya itong explanation ninyo mas realistic pa, albeit although violation ng joint circular.
So I'd like to point out lang, Your Honor, that there were no reimbursements made, sir, based on what was relayed to me, sir. There was no reimbursements
But
made.
this was
sir.
information relayed to you by La Chica.
Colonel La Chica, sir.
And itong si Colonel La Chica, kanina naririnig ko, hindi nyo alam yung direct na ginagawa niya, hindi rin alam ni Acosta. So, sino lang nakakaalam sa opisina ninyo tungkol sa confidential operations or itong paggastos, yung paggastos ng confidential operations?
For the confidential operations, sir, again, sir, I have no personal knowledge, sir. I would assume, sir, because meron po siyang designation from our head of agency, then the reportorial duties, I would presume, would be directly to the head of agency.
Which is si Vice President Sara.
Which is
So
the head
dalawang
of
tao
agency.
lang sa opisina ninyo, si Vice President Sara at si Colonel La Chica lang, ang alam kung paano gastusin itong 500 million.
Sir, I would have no personal knowledge again, sir, kung sila lang pong dalawa, sir.
Kasi ikaw yung gumawa nung reply, pero galing sa Colonel La Chica yung information, si Gina naman kahapon, ganun rin, hindi rin niya alam. So I'm trying to understand sino nakakaalam nung paggastos ng 500 million dahil hindi siya maliit na pondo eh. No, but based on your information, dalawang tao lang ang parang nakakaalam nito. No? Si Vice President at si Colonel La Chica. My last question, Mr. Presiding Officer. Kanina nasabi nyo na based sa information, meron pang mga tao si Colonel La Chica. Tinransfer ni Acosta yung pera, o dinisburse ni Acosta yung pera kay Colonel La Chica. And si Colonel La Chica, dinisburse niya ulit dito sa mga tao niya. So, double handling ang nangyari dito sa pera. So, paano natin malalaman kung talagang yung pera ay pumunta sa mga activities o tao na kailangan puntahan dahil ni yung accountable officer, hindi niya na alam kung paano na-disburse yung pera doon sa mga informants. Anong kwento sa'yo ni Colonel La Chica na umabot talaga dito sa mga informants?
Based on what was shared to me, sir, Ms. Gina Acosta disbursed the amount to the security officer, and then the security officer implemented it on the ground.
Yeah, but violation na kasi in disbursement to Colonel La Chica. And then there's another violation na from Colonel La Chica to some people who disperse the amounts. Ibig sabihin, ang daming taong humahawak ng pera bago umabot sa mga informants. So, in that sense, ang daming violation o tinakbuhan ng pera. So, thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Senate President. With the indulgence of Senator Judge Padilla, Senator Judge Camille Villar will be availing for a first round opportunity to interject. So I will recognize her first. Again, with your indulgence, Senator Judge Padilla, I see you nodding. Senator Judge Camille Villar, you may proceed when you're ready. You have 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Good afternoon po, Mr. Ortonio.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Maayong hapon.
So, mayong hapon din. I just have a few clarificatory questions for you, if you don't mind. Tama po ba kayo ang Assistant Chief of Staff ng OVP?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
And kayo po ang sumagot dun sa AOM na pinadala ng COA. Kayo po yung nag-prepare ng report.
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Yes, and ano yung what was the process in which that you did that? Or what were the things that you had to do? You prepared the AOM, you consulted with?
Nung na-receive po yung AOM, ma'am, I informed the Chief of Staff and the Vice President. And from there was an instruction to me to coordinate with the Special Disbursing Officer and the Security Officer, which I did also, ma'am. And then from their replies, ma'am, I drafted the response, and then I submitted the reply for final approval to the head of agency.
And of course, in your capacity as the Assistant Chief of Staff and in your own capacity, sa inyo pong palagay ay nagampanan nyo naman yung inyong role dito sa prosesong ito at nagawa nyo naman adequately yung report?
Yes, at the time, ma'am, yes, I would say so, ma'am. Because from the issues that were raised in the AOM and in the NS, marami pong mga concerns or issues na natanggal po doon sa final na natanggal doon sa notice of disallowance that we received.
Okay, and lahat yung mga requirements naman ay na-fulfill nyo naman dun sa report, right? A majority of it.
Yes, lahat po ng mga concerns that were raised, we were able to provide answers and supporting documents.
And doon naman doon po sa AOM, anywhere in the AOM did it say that there was a misuse or misappropriation of the funds?
No, there was no mention po, ma'am.
Okay, and are the findings of the AOM final?
No, ma'am. It is subject for comments, ma'am, and right now for motion for reconsideration.
Okay. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat. Daghang salamat po. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Camille
Ortonio.
Villar.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Senator Judge Padilla, you
Maraming
may
salamat
proceed
po.
with your interjection, sir. You have 2 minutes.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong tagapamahal ng hukom. Tuloy ko lang po yung ating tanungan. Opo. Pagkatapos po niyong sumagot, pwede pong pati na rin sa depensa. Meron din po akong tanong. Kanina po, nahinto tayo kay Marshal
Before you continue,
Bonifacio.
Senator Judge Padilla, next time, Attorney Christine, do you need a platform similar to it was Senator it was Attorney Lorna first asked for it, but I noticed the prosecution has one. Would you wish one to be provided for you at a future time, Attorney Christine, or the
Yes, Your Honor.
side of the respondents?
Yes, Your Honor. I would appreciate having that platform too.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the next hearing, Attorney Christine. Yes, Senator Judge Padilla, you may
Opo.
proceed.
Balikan ko po, naputol po tayo kanina. Opo. Naniniwala po ba kayo na ang confidential fund para yaan po ay makakuha tayo ng impormasyon para makasave ng buhay, para makakaroon tayo ng law and order?
If used properly, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Opo. Kayo po, sa defense, naniniwala po ba kayo?
Yes, Your Honor.
Opo. Kung sa palagay niyo po, nung panahon na si Marshal Bonifacio ay may confidential fund at nalaman niya na merong magtatangka sa kanyang buhay, sa palagay niyo po ba buhay pa si Senator Benigno Aquino ngayon?
Well, assuming, Your Honor, that the foreign occupants were those lone threats to his life, then probably yes, Your Honor.
Salamat po. Kayo po?
Actually, Your Honor, I'm not aware really of the circumstances during that time, Your Honor. So I cannot really comment intelligently on that. Yes, opo. Yes,
Opo.
Your Honor.
Sige. Si Marshal Bonifacio po ang may tuturing natin na nagbigay ng daan para sa people power. Yung kanya pong pagkamatay. Opo. Siya po ay na-assassinate. Palagay niyo po ba kung meron siyang confidential fund nung panahon na yun, ay nagkaroon siya ng information na merong assassination na magagawa sa kanya?
Likely, Your Honor.
Salamat po. Pangalawang tanong po. Palagay niyo po ba kung meron confidential former Senator Angara na sa ngayon ay Secretary ng DepEd, maaari po bang napigil niya ang mga shooting incident sa mga paaralan? Wala pong speculation. Sa tingin lang po niyo, kung meron siya... Sabi niyo po kasi kanina, sumang-ayon po kayo, kung may confidential fund, maaring makabigay ng kapayapaan, law and order. Sa palagay niyo po ba, kung meron siyang confidential... Ano lang naman po yun? Yes or no? Kung hindi po kayo naniniwala.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, salamat po. Kayo po?
It can, Your Honor, if the purpose of the confidential Your Honor, on the threats.
So, kinda.
Yes.
Tama ba yung aking diction? Kinda. Salamat po. Salamat po sa inyong dalawa. Sa isang tanong na lang po sa ating saksi. Kayo na hindi pa naman talaga natapos ang investigasyon ng COA dito patungkol sa sinasabing akusasyon sa ating Vice President?
Yes, sir. Nasa stage pa po, sir, ng submission of yung decision for the motion for reconsideration. So, I would say that it's not yet final.
Yun lang po. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you, Senator Judge Padilla. Senator Judge Lacson, you have 2 minutes, sir. You may proceed when you're ready. Thereafter, Senator Marcos, and then we're through.
Very quickly lang, Mr. Presiding Officer. Yung status ng security classification noong inyong PFP covering the PAPs, programs, activities, projects, socio-economic, at saka good governance.
Sorry,
including, ano yung present security classification? Has it been declassified or is it still classified information?
Sir, I would have no idea po, sir.
Teka muna. Terminated na po ba yung PFP? Terminated na? Tapos na?
If in terms of the activities, sir, I would assume, sir, na tapos na po siya,
Therefore,
sir.
kung tapos na, declassified na.
As to the terminology, sir, unfortunately.
Ito classified information. You know, I'm trying to drive at this scenario, no? Kasi ang dami sa amin, nagtataka talaga, totoo ba talaga yung mga aliases? Totoo ba nakatanggap sila ng reward, performance money, para lang matapos na yung aming panghuhula, baka pwedeng maipresenta all the documents relative to the PAPs, to the PFP, relative to the expected outcome, para lang makapag-desisyon kami. Kasi sa ngayon, nanguhula kami, saan ba napunta yung pera? Possible po ba yun? I'm also addressing that to the presiding officer. Is it possible for the court to issue subpoena ducis tecum just to settle this issue once and for all. Talaga napunta yung pera. So we can have informed decision at the proper time. Ngayon hula kami ng hula eh. Alam niyo, Mr. Ortonio, no? Misuse sa akin yung maski masama yung connotation legally, na misuse mo pero hindi mo binulsa, probably pwedeng patawarin siguro ng mga kababayan natin, di ba? Naawa ka doon sa mga pulis, sa mga sundalo, na hindi intended doon sa item sa GAA, pero tinulungan mo kasi marami nagkakasakit, naulanan, naarawan. Sa akin, publiko, although I'm not saying na hindi violation ng law, kasi may technical malversation. But in the eyes of the public, pagka na-misuse, pero hindi naman ibinulsa, medyo subdued ng konti yung Mr. Presiding Officer.
To respond, as a general rule, the court should sit as a passive body, Senator Judge Lacson, and leave it up to the prosecution to subpoena documents they deem necessary to prove their case. However, the court is not without any power after both counsels' respective evidences in chief to call a witness, recall a witness, call a witness that was not called by either or named by either party, and subpoena documents in connection with the subpoena ad testificandum ducis tecum may also be issued, citing as basis City of Cebu versus TJ 82111 and People versus Valera, GR number 20-28-6. So at the appropriate time, Senator Lacson, the court can avail of that power.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer, for the response. Kasi para hindi na tayo nanguhula lahat ito, 20 ilan tayo rito. Hindi natin alam kung talaga saan na. There's a presumption na nagamit na maayos. But still, there's that doubt. You cannot remove that because of the so many issues na lumabas dito sa aming trial. And we want to be satisfied. After all, we'll be deciding on the basis of evidence and namin kung ano yung tama o ano yung mali. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
We reserve that right. The court reserves that right, Senator Judge Lacson. Finally, Senator Judge Marcos for her interjection.
Yes, maraming salamat. At naintriga lang ako sa nasabi kanina, no? What's the documentary evidence of payments? Ano yung katibayan na nabayaran at hindi?
For the documentary evidence of payment po, we submitted the acknowledgement receipts.
Yung AR pa rin. In the context of rewards and incentives, what's the documentary evidence?
Based on my understanding, ma'am, acknowledgement receipts.
AR din. Wala talagang resibo, walang voucher, walang invoice. Ganun po ba?
Ang understanding ko po, ma'am, it's the acknowledgement receipts, ma'am, can suffice, ma'am.
And COA did not require OVP. What was inside that sealed envelope? Nasabi nga ninyo kanina, yung AR lang ang binuksan nyo, hindi na tinignan yung sealed envelope. Kasi ba hindi required ng COA yun?
Ma'am, when we submitted the initial po na comment ng COA is that we submit documents of payment to include also either ARs or official receipts. We submitted po ARs as documentary evidence of payment, and in the notice of disallowance po, there was no concern anymore in terms of the acknowledgement.
So inasmuch as yung COA did no longer ask for other documentation aside from the AR and the other documents submitted, is that the reason kung bakit hindi na ninyo binuksan yung sealed envelope?
Ma'am, at the time, ma'am, when I submitted the documents, ma'am, and it was sealed, ma'am, as the role of liaison officer, ma'am, who will transmit documents to the Commission on Audit, there is no specific na provision, ma'am, that the liaison officer needs to open it. I just need to transmit the documents to the
Thank you very much. At yun nga ang gusto ko i-clarify, hindi na kinailangan buksan yung sealed envelope dahil yun nga yung AR at yung mga dokumentong nabigay, yun na yung katibayan na nabayaran. Thank you.
Thank you, Your
Thank you,
Honor.
Senator Judge Marcos. Senator Judge Erwin Tulfo.
I know, Mr. Presiding Officer, we're in a hurry. Just a quick manifestation, Mr. Presiding
Yes,
Officer.
you may proceed,
Sir,
Senator Judge
may I
Tulfo.
once again encourage both counsels, the prosecution and the defense, to consider presenting the individual who appears to be the missing link in the testimonies we have heard so far. Ilang araw na po ito, Colonel La Chica, Colonel La Chica, La Chica, La Chica. Even Colonel La Chica, sa mga TV po kanina, hindi po siya mag-testify dito. Maging si Defense Secretary, sabi niya gano'n, pinaubayan na namin sa Senate, si Colonel La Chica. I understand, Mr. Presiding Officer, we cannot compel him to appear, but he has been repeatedly named by several witnesses, and it may be helpful to this court to hear directly from that individual that gaping holes in the testimony may be clarified and the facts may be properly connected. I'm sure lahat po ng Senator judges would like to ask him, ano ba, saan mo ba dinala? Totoo bang inutusan ka ni BP? O sarili mo lang yan, binulsa mo? I have a lot of questions, Mr. Presiding Officer. That's why I am praying that one day we will be able to talk to Colonel para matapos na ho ito. Iniiwan ho natin parang hanging po yung question. Patatapos na po tayo dito sa hostile witness, babalik na tayo sa witnesses ng prosecutors. Hindi pa natin narinig si Colonel La Chica. Mr. Presiding Officer, yun lang po.
The manifestation is noted, but as earlier ruled by the presiding officer, we cannot compel either party witness. However, after the presentation of the party's evidence in chief, the court may exercise its discretion to call a witness based on the Supreme Court ruling cited by the chair earlier. That time will come should Colonel La Chica not be called by either party. So ordered. Just a few questions, Mr. Antonio. Kayo po ang nagsagot o sumagot sa lahat ng AOM, notice of suspension at notice of disallowance. Tama po?
Yes, I'm one of the signatories po.
Wala po doon sa AOM o kahit anong notice of suspension at disallowance, yung issue tungkol sa mga alias sa acknowledgement receipt, na-raise po ba yun doon?
It was not raised in any of the observations from COA, sir.
So hindi nyo
We did not answer, sir.
did not need to answer because there was no question posed.
Yes, Your Honor.
There was no issue also raised by COA with respect to spending it for 11 days. Correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Wala rin kayong kailangan sagutin kaugnay nun.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, the notice of disallowance, for the 3 quarters of 2023, it was disallowed base sa testimonya ni Gina Acosta, binigay niya yung pera kay Colonel La Chica. Tama po ba?
That's one of the observations po, Your Honor.
That's one of, it's not an observation anymore, Mr. Ortonio. It's a notice of disallowance.
Disallowance. Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
So, sa tingin ng COA, bawal, illegal, hindi sang-ayon sa JC 2015-1 yung pagbigay ni Gina Acosta kay La Chica.
Based on the disallowance, Your Honor, it indicates na the transfer from one agency to another, sir.
Kayo po, alam niyo po ba yun na binigay ni Gina Acosta yung huling quarter ng 2022 at 3 quarter ng 2023 kay Colonel La Chica lahat?
At the time, sir, no, I did not, sir.
At the time na binigay niya o at the time na nangyari na?
At the time na nangyari lahat, sir, I would have knowledge, sir.
Hindi, pero nung ginawa mo yung AOM, unang sagot sa AOM, alam mo na binigay ni Gina kay La Chica?
Yes, sir, because they were introduced as the special
So, October mo nang nalaman na binigay lahat ni Gina La Chica, October 2023, nung sinagot mo yung unang AOM para sa huling quarter ng 2022, doon mo palang nalaman na binigay lahat ni Gina kay La Chica yung...
Correct, Your Honor.
Now, is La Chica an accountable officer based on the definition of the JC?
Based on the JC, sir, he is not an accountable officer, sir. It's the SDO.
And that is the reason why his signature does not appear in any of the documents submitted by the Vice President in MNS and Notice of Disallowance. Dahil hindi naman siya empleyado ng OVP, di ba?
Yes, sir. He's not an employee, sir, although he's designated as the security officer.
Is that allowed, designating someone as a security officer who's not an employee of the office and being given that much money?
Sir, based on my understanding, sir, on the JC, when I read it, sir, there's no specific guideline, sir, on who to designate as security officer. But there is a provision po, sir, that the head of agency may designate a security officer to implement different programs and activities.
Now, you keep on mentioning that La Chica implemented and that Acosta disbursed. Ano pong definition nyo ng implement?
Implement, sir, would be to perform the different activities on the ground, sir.
Which entails what? How will he perform the different activities on the ground? Confidential funds.
Possible, sir, to coordinate with the different informants or agents, sir. Yun po yung pwede kong mabigay na information, sir.
Mr. Ortonio, sa mga salitang perform at coordinate, saan po doon yung paggastos ng confidential fund? Perform, coordinate. Yun ang definition mo na implement.
Yes, sir.
Ba't binigay kay Colonel Lachica yung pera at ba't siya gumastos kung perform at coordinate lang pala? Did Colonel Lachica spend the money?
I would say so, sir, that being the implementer of the different activities, sir, he spent the money for the different confidential activities.
So Colonel Lachica disbursed the money for various confidential activities?
I would say, sir, that the different activities, sir.
Mr. Ortonio, nasa spent na tayo. Binago ko lang ng konting disburse, bumalik ka na naman sa implement eh. Again, spent, disbursed. It means the same thing. Ang
Sir,
gumastos na ng pera na binigay ni Gina, si Colonel Lachica o mga tauhan niya.
Sir, based on my understanding, sir, it's Miss Gina Acosta who sir. And then si Colonel Lachica po yung implement or conduct ng mga confidential activities.
Hindi
on the
nagbayad si Colonel Lachica?
Part of his duties as the implementor, sir, nagbayad siya doon sa mga...
So is it your theory that Gina disbursed to Lachica as an end user?
Yun po yung ano ko, sir. Understanding po, sir.
Kung end user si Lachica, bakit niya binawi yung acknowledgement receipt niya nung nagbigay na siya ng mga acknowledgement receipt para sa di umano binayaran niya? Hindi ba dapat tinago niya yun? Kasi nag-disburse si Gina, tinanggap ni Lachica. Kung siya ang end user, tama lang na may acknowledgement receipt siya, ba't niya binawi? Ba't hindi tinago sa file?
Sir, in terms of AR, sir,
Ni Lachica?
I do not know of that, sir, because...
That's what Gina said.
The AR, sir, were given to me by Miss Gina, and then that's what I submitted to the Commission on Audit.
The ARs of the various aliases na binanggit, yung kanina pa sinasabi, ng iba't ibang apelido, kasama yung apelido ko, yun yung sinubmit ni Colonel Lachica. Ayon kay Gina, nagbigay siya ng pera kay Colonel Lachica at bilang katibayan, nagbigay na acknowledgement receipt si Colonel Lachica. Pero nung nagbigay siya ng mga acknowledgement receipt at liquidation, binawi daw ni Colonel Lachica yung acknowledgement receipt. So wala kang kopya ng acknowledgement receipt ni Lachica?
Sorry, sir. Ang pagkakaalam ko, sir, is that I got the box with acknowledgement receipt, sir, from the Special Disbursing Officer. And
So
that's
you're
what
not aware of any acknowledgement receipt signed by Lachica?
No, sir.
So if Gina disbursed to him, ba't hindi mo hinanap yung acknowledgement receipt kay Lachica?
Request, sir, was for the DEPs for the implementation,
If your
sir.
theory is, dinisburse kay Lachica, in-implement ni Lachica, hindi ba kailangan may papel yung dinisbursan na tinanggap niya yung pera?
Sir, I did not request for it anymore, sir.
That's the final question, sir. So this is your story. You placed in the PAP, or you know that what they placed in the PAP, good governance program, social program, pero gagastusin yung confidential fund para sa informants, para tiyakin na ligtas ang ikalawang Pangulo saan man siya magpunta sa bansa, kaugnay ng trabaho niya, at ginamit itong confidential fund para bumili ng impormasyon, pera binigay para ipambili ng pagkain, ng computer, ng gamot, kapalit ay impormasyon para matiyak ang kaligtasan ng VP at napatunayang matagumpay yon dahil walang nangyaring masama sa ating Vice Presidente hanggang ngayon. Yan po yung buod summary ng paggamit ng confidential fund ng OVP base sa inyong presentasyon.
Sir, with due respect, sir, just...
You can correct me, sir.
Just one po,
Yes,
sir. It's for the... to ensure that the activities of the OVP will be implemented safely and that no untoward na mga mangyayari in the performance of walang mangyayari sa mga different activities ng OVP. That's what I
Walang
understand.
mangyayaring masama sa kanya at dun sa makikilahok. That's
And ano sir, for the people who will be, say for example, attending mga events, sir.
Kaya hindi lang kay VP, pati sa mga taong makikilahok dun sa event para ligtas silang lahat doon.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yan po yung sinabi sa inyo ni Colonel Lachica na rason kung bakit siya namigay ng pera sa iba't ibang informant sa pamamagitan ng reward o pera pambili ng gamot, ng silya, ng computer, ng pagkain.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Tonyo, Senator Judge Zubiri, to avail of the first round.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I was not going to ask any more questions. I won't be asking a question to the witness, more to address the court. Can we make, because this is a recurring theme, halos sa lahat ng mga testigo, ang sinasabi po nila at minsan mga tanong ng prosecution or defense and prosecution ay finding ng COA, hindi pa siya final. It is yet under may motion for reconsideration. Ika nga, binanggit nga kanina ng ating testigo. Can this court make representation with the COA? If possible, during the duration of this trial, so that we may be guided as judges. Can they make their finding with finality? Who knows? They may say na wala namang nangyaring kalokohan. Itong article ay tapos na. Pag sinabi naman talaga nila ay masyadong glaring yung mga violations, then tayo bilang mga judges will also be clarified kung meron talagang misuse of funds. Kasi talaga nito is COA. Diba? Lahat ng misuse of funds ng government agencies, it is the COA that makes that determination. And then before it is taken up to another court, which is Sandigan Bayan, the Ombudsman. Pero sana po, Mr. Presiding Officer, this is an appeal to the COA. I know there's due process for the parties, but I think the filing for the motion for consideration was done a few months ago, or I think it was in 2000. The findings came out 2024 or 2025. Medyo matagal na. And if there was a motion to for reconsideration on the part of the Vice President, maybe it will be prudent that they already of finality, Mr. Presiding Officer, and copy furnish this impeachment court because it will be very important. Kasi ang sagot palagi ng testigo, may motion for consideration pa kami. Hindi pa final po yan, Your Honors. So, for every one of us here, may we appeal to the Commission on Audit, I'm sure they're listening, can they already come out with finality on this issue so that we may be guided by the arbiter, the final arbiter when it comes to issues of misuse of funds. Yun lang po, Mr. Presiding
By way
Officer.
of reply, Senator Judge Zubiri, the Commission is an independent constitutional commission, and I doubt if we would be well within our rights to compel them, similar to a mandamus, to act one way or the other on this matter. Secondly,
That's why it is a request, Mr.
I
Presiding
think the
Officer.
period
Yes.
to file an appeal under 45 or under 65 certiorari of the ruling of the COA Commission and Bank has not yet lapsed, and the period to file a reconsideration has not yet lapsed too. It is yet to be, the respondent, I think, has until October to file a motion for reconsideration. So it's not yet in the hands of the Commission at this point in time. But having said that, thirdly,
Yes, Mr. President.
there are cases by the Supreme Court to the effect that a final determination of COA is not necessary for a case to be heard and tried. So this does not preclude the impeachment court, if at all, from deciding based on available evidence in regard to the articles of impeachment pending before us.
Pero Mr. Presiding Officer, napakabigat akusasyon na binabanggit natin dito na yung araw na ito sa Vice Presidente. Napakabigat. Does not that weigh on to the Commission, although it's an independent body, that prudence dictates that they must act with of course, following the due process. Kung October, sinasabi nga natin, hindi nga ito matatapos ng December. So it is well within the period. I myself, as one of the judges of this impeachment court, want to see the final observation report or findings of the Commission on Audit. That is an appeal to them. As I said, we cannot compel them. They are our independent constitutional branch of government. But for example, budget season starts next week. They will come. Maybe we can ask that question to them. How long will it take before this finding comes out? Because we want to know. I cannot make that. It's very difficult sometimes to make a decision without the final Commission on Audit. I think it would be very important, Your Honor. Just putting that on the record. Thank you.
The manifestation of Senator Judge Zavir is noted. Proceeding now to some administrative matters. The Honorable Luistro earlier asked about the presence of Colonel Boransing. We furnished parties with a copy of his letter dated August 25, stating that he cannot, he needed to coordinate with his superiors before being able to leave his post as prescribed by the standard operating procedures in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, and requests that he instead be called on September 1. I am constrained to grant that, Honorable Luistro, Attorney Sheila, given the exigencies of his position, that he is the commanding officer of Zamboanga and cannot leave simply because he received the subpoena and would need certain preparations before he can leave his post. Let the corresponding subpoena, if it has not yet been issued, be issued for Colonel Boransing, the second on September 1. Number 2, insofar as Colonel Bajao retired is concerned, the address given was not received by the Armed Forces of the Philippines. He is retired. So may I instruct the prosecution to kindly coordinate with either the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office, PIVAO, or the AFP Pension Management Center to get an address. I'm sure he's receiving his pension from somewhere, and that would be a good place to look. The court cannot issue a subpoena properly to Major General Bajao without an address, counsel. Bahaw. In regard to the third, sitting third?
Your Honor.
Yes, in regard to Colonel Panopio, he was subpoenaed to appear on September 1, thinking that Colonel Boransing would be here today. Therefore, there are no other witnesses to be presented by the prosecution today. So, next week, we are expecting Colonel Boransing, Colonel Panopio, and hopefully we would be able to find Major General Bahaw, if you will still persist in those three witnesses, Honorable Luistro.
Your Honor, we respectfully inform the Honorable Impeachment Court that we are now dropping Colonel Bahaw. Nevertheless, we maintain
Major General.
Major
retired.
General Bahaw, Your Honor. We maintain the position to present both Colonel Boransing and Colonel Panopio, to whom the subpoenas have been ordered to be issued for September 1, 2026, Your Honor. But in addition to that, Your Honor, and in order to maximize given to us by the
I was
Honorable
about to ask
Impeachment
that.
Court, for September 2, that is next Wednesday, Your Honor, we would like to respectfully move for the issuance of subpoena ad testificandum to Attorney Michael Wesley T. Powa, if the same should be necessary, as well as to Ms. Marisa B. Grande of the Philippines, that Your Honor. If given opportunity next week, these two shall likewise be presented on September 2, Wednesday, Your Honor.
Subject to the colatilia that should the other witness not appear, given that Attorney Powa is here and more than willing to testify as intimated earlier, then we jump to Attorney Powa. Should the other earlier two witnesses fail to appear on September, without need of issuing a subpoena to Attorney Powa. He is so informed in open court.
We submit to that, Your Honor.
So ordered. Other matters, yesterday afternoon, the prosecution filed a motion to set a conference for the marking of additional exhibits, particularly documents received from the Philippine Statistics Authority. The prosecution seeks to set the conference at 4 p.m. today. This is quite a simple motion, Attorney Sheila. The motion is granted. The clerk of court is directed to conduct the marking of additional exhibits at 4 o'clock this afternoon at Rector Room, and counsels are directed to send representatives to attend the conference. The presiding officer is also in receipt of a request from the respondent to be furnished with copies of the prosecution's pre-marked exhibits for Article 1, which counsel for respondent is likewise marked with the specifics. These being common exhibits, the request is hereby granted. The clerk of court is directed to furnish counsel for the respondent with copies of the requested pre-marked exhibits, with the understanding that the panel of prosecutors will be accorded the same courtesy should a similar request on the respondent's marked documents be made in the future. So ordered.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Given that opportunity given to the prosecution to mark additional documents, we would like to avail of the same opportunity. And if the situation calls for it, we will ask for an additional setting for conference to mark additional documents in preparation for our presentation, so that in the interest of time, we can take advantage of these additional settings ordered by.
Will be granted without
Thank
need
you,
of
Your
an order being issued by the court, subject to the availability of the parties and the clerk of court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So ordered. Finally, we are in receipt of a prosecution's request for supplemental subpoena for other banks and financial institutions. I presume, Attorney Sheila, you got a copy of the subpoena?
We did, Your Honor.
The chair will simply adopt and apply its ruling last July 26 concerning the subpoena issued to certain banking institutions involving the same subject matter, and the same limitations will apply accordingly. The request for subpoena directed to the concerned banking institutions, I won't specify anymore because both parties have a copy, and financial institutions covering the respondent, her spouse, Attorney Manasseh Carpio, as well as 20 this court in which the spouses hold an interest, is hereby granted. It is clear that the subpoena does not include foreign currency, is limited only to peso-denominated accounts and not to foreign currency deposits, as these are excluded without the written consent of the depositor. The clerk of court is directed to cause the issuance and service of the subpoenas to the entities requested to so who shall produce the required documents before the clerk of court in 7 calendar days from today, or on September 2, Wednesday, next week, 2026. So, ordered.
Your Honor,
Yes, Attorney Sheila.
given the position that we had articulated on this matter of the subpoena with respect to bank records and other materials subject of that subpoena, we will just want to place it on record that we will be our right to comment and to put our appropriate objections at the proper time. Thank you.
On the record, Attorney
On the
Sheila.
record, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, please.
And or seek further remedies as is available to you.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Outside of this court. Yes, Honorable Listro.
We would like to respectfully manifest to the Honorable Impeachment Court that almost simultaneously to the reading of the Honorable Impeachment Court on the issue of sub judice rule, the respondent Vice President made a public statement
I
which
know
is
where you're leading at, Counsel. Naunahan mo lang ako. I thought you were going to take up another matter, so let me cut you short. Yes. While the presiding officer was on the applicability, limitation, and who is covered by Rule 18, a statement was issued by the impeached official, the respondent, the Vice President, which clearly is covered by what the ruling earlier given by the presiding officer issued. So, given that it was done while the ruling was being issued, prospectivity would still apply. However, the presiding officer remind through the lead counsel for the respondent, her client, to kindly observe the ruling of the presiding officer as well as the rules of the impeachment court, specifically Article or Rule 18 on the subject matter in regard to making comments on the merits of the case, because henceforth, again, given the prospectivity of the ruling, the necessary actions will be taken against her not only by the court, but also, given that she's a lawyer, via what the presiding officer earlier mentioned in relation to CIPRA and in relation to the Office of the Bar Confidant. Kindly inform her, Attorney Sheila.
We take note of that reminder, Your Honor.
Thank you, Attorney
so
Sheila.
just it will form part of the record, Your Honor. May I be allowed to read that portion of the statement of the
think
respondent
this is
Vice
unnecessary,
President?
Your Honor.
No need, no need. Again, I find it unacceptable and it will be commenting on the merits and no need to read it in the records. The court can take, in fact, judicial notice of that, should it so desire. Senator Judge Aquino.
Mr. President, for the benefit of everyone, may I be clarified again, what are the possible penalties for breaking or not following your decision po earlier? Kapag Senator Judge, it goes to the Committee on Ethics. Tama po, no?
Yes.
Yes. Kapag mga miyembro po ng councils, ano po yung mga posibleng penalty? Kapag respondent or complainant, ano po yung mga posibleng penalty? Kapag ibang tao po, kasama po ba sila sa saklaw ng inyong ruling kanina?
We will issue the corresponding guidelines, Senator Judge Bam, for the information of Senator Judges, so that it will be in a clear table form. But to answer your question, reprimand and admonition, followed by a fine for the second offense, and fine subsequently thereafter without prejudice to referring the matter should it violate their obligations as a member, as an officer of the court, without prejudice to referring the matter to the Supreme Court, the IBP, and or the Office of the Bar Confidant, if any violation may have been committed by them. But we will issue the guidelines in relation to that. Yes, Honorable Luis, anything else?
We have no other manifestation, Your Honor.
Attorney Sheila?
We're good, Your Honor.
We promise to provide what do you call it? A platform, should it be so necessary.
Yes, Your
May
Honor.
we request,
appreciate
Your Honor,
that.
that the witness be excused?
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Antonio. I thought the administrative matters would not take this long. Yes, Mr. Antonio, you are excused. Maraming salamat po sa inyong panahon, sa inyong kooperasyon at sa pagsagot po sa katanungan ng Senator Judges at ng magkabilang partido. Thank you for your time, sir. You are excused,
Thank you
sir.
very much, Your Honor. Thank you.
The trial is adjourned until 10 a.m. Still 10 a.m. on Tuesday, given that Monday is a holiday, September 1, 2026.
Thank you.
Session will be at 3:30 according to the Senate President.
The 19th day, week 8 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial has just concluded, and what began today was the decision of the Senate presiding officer on the issue of sub judice and also of Attorney Ligutan. While the presiding officer has reminded that as of that point, it was tabula rasa, or wipe the slate clean, meaning all is forgiven for the past indiscretions or statements issued by both parties, but moving forward, Rule 18 will be strictly enforced. Also noted here was VP Sara's statement during the actual, when he was giving the decision earlier, and reminded counsel of the defense to remind the Vice President to follow the rule, not only because she could be reprimanded not only by the impeachment court, but also she is a lawyer, and this could be taken up by the bar. And in the meantime, Vice President Sara Duterte earlier released a statement challenging prosecutors to refrain from insults. She also accused the Marcos administration of having the wrong priorities. Now, how is Malacanang responding to that? Mobile journalist Julie Baisa is at the palace for the inside look. Julie.
Yes, Diego, binueltahan at sinagot nga isa-isa ng palasyo yung mga pahayag ni Vice President Sara Duterte, kabilang yung sinabi niya na lubog na daw sa baha at kahirapan ng bansa, pero tila walang mananagot. Ang sabi ni Palace Press Officer Claire Castro, totoo naman daw na lubog sa baha dahil kitang-kita yan sa Davao City. Kaya raw inutusan na ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos si DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon na ayusin yung malalang pagbaha sa Davao City. May isa raw kasing proyekto na nakita si Dizon na 2019 pa pero hindi pa rin nagagalaw o naisa sa ayos. Kailangan din daw makita at maimbestigahan yung ulat na may more than 13,000 flood control projects yung nagdaan ng Administrasyon Duterte. Dapat daw masilip kung numbers lang daw ba yan o existing projects. Kasi kung mga proyekto yan, dapat malaki daw yung naitutulong yan sa mga pagbaha. Para na rin daw maibigay yung kahilingan ni Vice President Duterte na panagutin yung dapat managot. Doon naman sa sinabi ni VP Sara na prioridad daw ng administrasyon yung impeachment trial laban sa kanya, na paghatian umano yung 2027 budget, at yung paghahanda kung paano baliin yung konstitusyon at manatili sa pwesto, giniit ni Castro na naaayon sa konstitusyon ng impeachment proceedings at probisyon naman daw sa batas na para yan mapanagot yung isang opisyal. Ang payo ni Castro, mas maganda daw na aralin ng bise ang lahat para hindi bumalik sa kanya yung mga ibinibintang niya laban sa administrasyon. Doon naman sa pagpuna ng bise sa paggamit nga daw ng ad hominem sa impeachment trial, siguro daw dapat magsimula kay VP Sara na maging magalang din sa pananalita para hindi na ibabalik sa kanya yung mga sinasabi niya. Ang palasyo at ang Pangulo kailanman hindi daw ito tolerate yung paggamit ng mga mapanirang salita at mga ad hominem. Diego.
Alright, ano to, Julie, yung Lenny as kakampi?
Kanina kasi nabanggit din ng palasyo na isa nga daw si Naga City Mayor Lenny Robredo doon sa pumupuri sa LGSF fund, ano, kasi nakikita daw kung saan napupunta yung proyekto at may transparency daw. Kaya ang tinanong sa kanya, si Mayor Lenny ba isa na ba sa maituturing na kaalyado? Lahat naman daw kaalyado ng Pangulo, no, kahit daw sa ang bayan, kahit daw saan ang pinamumunuan nilang lugar. Nagbabago lang naman daw yung sinasabi ng Pangulo kapag doon sa mga obstructionist, kasi meron daw ilan na wala naman daw talagang ginawa kundi puro paninira sa administrasyon.
Alright, itong iconic Coconut Palace, no, nag-reopen siya, and I remember most vice presidents use that as their palace. Kamusta naman ang update dito, and will this be used also as possible sa future again for any government offices?
Kagabi nga ni-reopen yan after ng ginawa nilang improvement, ano. Gagamitin yan, Diego, actually for the upcoming ASEAN Leaders Summit sa November, dahil tayo nga ang chair ng ASEAN. So isa yan sa mga venue na paggagamitan doon. Ang sabi ng palasyo, marami daw mga ni-restore, maraming mga ipinapakita yung craftsmanship, ano. Pero kung gagamitin ba yan in the future na tanggapan? Kasi sabi mo nga previously mga vice president, wala pang sinasabi yung Malacanang tungkol dyan. Basta venue for ASEAN pa lang so far.
Alright, well, thank you for that report. Mobile journalist Julie Baisa. Let's now get a recap of the 19th day of the Vice President's trial. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes reports live from the impeachment court. Go ahead, Merimon.
Diego, excuse na itong si Assistant Chief of Staff of the OVP and Assistant Secretary Lemuel Ortonio dahil tapos na yung direct exam sa kanya, cross-exam, redirect and re-cross-exam, and even clarificatory or interjection mula sa senator judges. Yung ilan sa mga tinatanong kanina is yung oversight talaga. Kasi may supervisory na posisyon itong si Ortonio sa OVP. So dapat alam niya raw lahat, especially when it comes to being transparent sa kung saan ginamit yung confidential funds. Last time kasi hanggang kanina ang sila na nga sila ng accomplishment report, yung acknowledgement receipts lang talaga ang alam niya, pero yung entire nature talaga kung paano in-implement, paano ginastos itong confidential funds, hindi wala raw talaga siyang alam dyan. Pero as far as he understands, si VP Sara Duterte, Colonel Raymond Dante La Chica of the VP-SPG, sila yung may alam, and itong sila Chica ang nag-implement. Yan yung tinatanong kanina ni Presiding Officer and Senator Judge Chins Escudero. So, nung pinasa ni Acosta dito kay La Chica, anong definition niya ng implement? Anong definition dito ni Ortonio? Implement, kumbaga isinagawa yung mga programa, yung pagko-coordinate daw sa mga agents, sa mga informant. So sabi ni Senator Cheese, so ginastos nga. So parang naging payer ba itong si La Chica? And to note, sinabi rin kanina ni Ortonio, walang employment status itong si La Chica kasi designated lang daw
Yeah.
siya para doon sa posisyon niya from basing it off on an order from the AFP.
That's right.
So, ang tinanong din kanina ni Senator Risa Ontiveros naman, so tingin mo ba ang may malaki ang responsibilidad sa usapin na ito, si VP Sara? Sabi naman ni Ortonio, oo, pero sa panahon daw na nakapagtrabaho niya itong vice, alam niya raw na nais daw ni VP Sara Duterte na bawat sentimo daw pagdating sa pondo, nagagamit daw sa tama at maayos. Isa pang pinakatinatanong at ginagisa rin kanina si Ortonio is yung hindi niya raw ba tinanong man lang kung sino-sino raw ba talaga itong nasa acknowledgement receipts, hindi ba baka may pagkakaduda dito, lalo na nung naglabas na ng AOM yung audit observation memo from the COA. Ang nasabi dito ni Ortonio, kumbaga, may tiwala daw siya dito kay Security Officer La Chica at meron nga yung, kumbaga may ilang dokumento din from the security officer na naka-seal, naka-envelope, na sensitive daw kasi in nature. So kung ano nga yung dumaan, yun lang. Kung ano hindi dumaan, hindi rin sa kanya dumaan. And that includes din yung physical and financial plan na sinabi dito ni Ortonio, parang nire-rectify niya yung usapin ng reimbursement. Wala raw reimbursement na nangyari nung last quarter of 2022. Ang nangyari raw, nung nagpadala daw ng physical and financial plan itong OVP sa DBM, that's September 2022, itong si Sir La Chica, may mga nakaka-coordinate na raw na agents or informants.
Mhm.
At nung nakuha na raw yung confidential funds, kumbaga andyan na yung pera, tsaka lang daw naging selyado yung supposed na kung ano man yung interaction o yung transaction na meron. Pero ang malinaw, binigay yung pera at yung itong mga informants ang bumili nung pagkain, kaya medical supplies. Kaya ang tanong ni Senator Erwin Tulfo naman kanina at saka ni Senator Raffy Tulfo, gaano raw ba kalala yung naging sakit nitong mga informants kasi umaabot ng 250,000 pesos yung natanggap nila.
Actually, meron man yung sinasabi mo about, si Colonel La Chica, is he designated? Is he an employee? Nagsimula yan kay Senator Soto, no? Na hindi pala employee, but you're only a designate, and yet he was handling the money. Ngayon, yung line of question na binanggit mo, which is also interesting to me, yung kay Presiding Officer Escudero, was about they're trying to define whether ano ba ang status ni La Chica? O is he an end user, an implementer? Kasi ang pinipunto ata dito is if you are a implementer, you cannot handle or disburse that money because that is a job of the SDO. Pero pag end user ka, that means the money stops at you at sa'yo na yung pera because ikaw ang binayaran. So ano pa ang nasabi ng ibang senator judges regarding that issue?
Exactly, Diego. And yan yung nakikitang violation doon sa Joint Circular 2015-01 ng COA na STO lang talaga ang dapat na humahawak nito. Kaya sinabi naman ni Ortonio kanina, hindi raw, ang tanong kasi dito ni Escudero, sila Chica ba ang nag-disburse ng confidential funds matapos matanggap kay Acosta? Ang nasabi naman kanina rin ni Ortonio, hindi raw si Acosta raw ang nag-disburse, sila Chica ang nag-implement ng confidential
That's right.
funds. Something na hindi satisfied itong mga senator judge na nagtanong. At dumating pa sa punto naman na itong sila Senator Tulfo, Senator Raffy, nagamit pa nga yung salita, pero pinapalitan nito ni Senator Cheese na baga nagtanga-tangahan daw itong si Ortonio sa possible na inconsistencies when it comes to the processing and the use of the confidential funds. Kasi nga, hindi niya raw tinatanong, hindi niya raw inalam talaga o binusisi. Ang sabi naman ni Ortonio, he took offense doon sa naging salita ng senador. And ang sabi naman ni Presiding Officer Cheese, palitan daw, gawin daw feigning ignorance. So,
Yeah.
hindi satisfied. And even si Senator Ping Lacson naman, pinunto niya na pagdating dito sa mga report naman ng OVP, parang pare-pareho daw. Parang naging word of the day na naman ulit yung estupido na common sense daw na sana binago na lang yung wordings para makita na may distinction itong documents from the OVP.
Alright, Meriman, very quickly lang before I let you go. Of course, alam natin yung palitan ni Senator Bam at ni Senator Padilla. And sabi ni Senator Bam, yes, meron siyang alias pero wala siyang confidential fund. Hindi namin kasi nakita yung reaction ni Senator Padilla nung sinabi ni Senator Bam yan eh. May nakita ka bang reaksyon ni Senator Padilla?
Diego, yan kasi yung part na itong si Senator Roby, tinatanong niya naman si Attorney Lady Vinagracia from the prosecution kung ano na ba ang kahalagahan ng mga alias. Ang konteksto kasi nito, nag-bring up si Senator Roby ng mga alias in the past. Kumbaga sila Madrigal, marami sa kasaysayan na ito, kumbaga dati pa. Pero ang hindi daw kasi ito issue according to the prosecution. Pero dito naman bring up pa ni Senator Robin, kilala mo ba kung sino si Marshall Bonifacio? Si Ninoy Aquino daw yan. So, well, ni-resolve naman na non-issue to kasi wala namang pinag-uusapan directly na sinasabing aliases ito. Pero si Senator Bam naman, later on, nung siya naman ang tumayo para sa kanya pagtatanong, sinabi niya, oo, pangalan daw, may alias nga itong si Ninoy na Marshall Bonifacio nung nasa Boston para makauwi na Pilipinas. Pero kasi wala naman daw confidential funds itong si Ninoy. Wala raw siya sa acknowledgement receipts ng confidential funds. Narinig natin nung time na yon, natawa si Senator Robin Padilla.
Yeah, very colorful indeed. But for the meantime, thank you for that report. And keep us updated. Mobile journalist Merimon Reyes. Those are the latest news at this hour. More coming your way at 4 p.m. on Storycon. I'm Diego Castro, kapatid. We are One News, your side all the time. We leave you right now with a report from the Associated Press on the death of a music icon.
Music icon Dolly Parton has died at 80 years old. One of the most beloved personalities in music and beyond, Parton was known for her soaring vocals, poignant songwriting, massive blonde wigs, and colorful, attention-grabbing outfits. She wrote hundreds of songs, including classics like Jolene, Coat of Many Colors, and I Will Always Love You, later covered by Whitney Houston, that totaled more than 100 million worldwide sales and more than 1 billion online streams. Parton's other crossover hits included the title song from 9 to 5, the 1980 comedy starring Parton, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin, and her duet with longtime friend Kenny Rogers, Island in the Stream. Beyond her music, Parton's most lasting legacy might be her generosity. She started her education nonprofit, Imagine Library, to send books to children in Tennessee, and she established the Dollywood Foundation after opening her Dollywood theme park in East Tennessee. Parton was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame and was given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Recording Academy. With 55 Grammy nominations and 10 wins, Parton is the third most nominated woman in Grammy history.